Mini-episode 1073 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You'll want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to FDH Lounge mini-episode 1073. FDH Managing Partner Rick Morris here with you today. We have one of our favorite contributors coming back on to talk football. Good friend Fran Stuchbury from OurSports Central, and he writes for a number of other fine publications. But again, one of his first loves, especially within the world of football, which he loves more than just about anybody I know, but the XFL, which we're going to be talking about today, because again, he credits this with being sort of a turnaround thing in his career the first time it came up, as far as some of the opportunities that he got personally and professionally. So when it came back, I know it was very near and dear to his heart. And we are coming off of the XFL introductory press conference, getting into the details about the 2020 launch of the season. So Fran's here today to review that with us. A pleasure, as always, to have him back on. Fran, I know you love talking XFL. It's going to be a pleasure to get into it with you today.
Thanks, Rick. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited to talk about it.
I tell you what, let's start with you. Let's talk about that a little bit here, because your story and the way that it's kind of intertwined with all this is really kind of fascinating. It's something that you have looked upon as being sort of a personal and professional turning point in your life, getting to cover the XFL the first time around. It's a very interesting story.
I mean, here's what happened. I decided to come to the XFL. I did it for my sports center and OurSports Central. This is what happens. A guy named Nation Horn, at the age of 14, he read every single XFL story I wrote. I did a better job covering the league, going gangbusters with I interviewed Jeff Brom. He played for the Orlando Rage, and now he's the head coach of Purdue. I interviewed the football operations, Mike Keller. I went gangbusters with it. And then about 7 years later, the United Football League got formed, and him and my friend Billy created a Fansite UFL Access. I joined the message board. Nation recognizes me and says he knew me. He read every single XFL story I wrote, and that's how we became good friends. And he was the main reason why I decided to move down to Raleigh and North Carolina, and now I'm having a great life down here.
Absolutely, and a great hotbed of football for you to be at. I mean, people a lot of times think Tobacco Road and think basketball, and I understand why that's the case. But think about it. How many places are there in America where you've got a short drive to three major college campuses like you have?
Yeah, North Carolina, NC State, and Duke. I mean, I've been to all three, and I'm hoping to go to an East Carolina game next year. But back on the XFL, I like Vince's strategy. Vince and Oliver Lux, the big markets. The only question we want to Rick out. Let's go over the A markets first for the fans.
Sure. Dallas, Houston, L.A., New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Washington.
Yeah, I mean, they went with big TV markets, huge TV markets.
They did indeed. And it's very interesting that Vince is not out front for this league. The commissioner of it, the CEO, the front man, different from last time when Vince was pretty much the front man. Very respected football executive Oliver Luck, who, again, I can say as a lifelong member of America's North Coast, he's somebody that was a big football star at St. Ignatius back in the day, a nationally recognized program in the Cleveland area. So Oliver Luck, this is his hometown. He is revered here in this town. People remember what he did as a great player. He went to West Virginia, subsequently to quarterback. And again, admittedly, best known for being Andrew Luck's father at this point. You're going to have that when your son becomes a Hall of Fame quarterback. But Oliver Luck, a very classy guy, universally respected in the world of football. So Vince, seeing something that could be a weakness, which is, again, particularly you look at the time of the first XFL when it was during the Attitude Era, and the product was at its most lowbrow. The product, as you and I know now, is PG rated, but you've still got the lingering taste of pro wrestling in some people's mouths when they hear this. You got Oliver Luck out there, and what a great, respectable front man to have for your product.
I mean, Oliver, he's a brutal football guy. He's been involved with the World League of American Football. He even has a soccer background, being involved with youth animal. The guy's a proven background, proven professional. I mean, anyone that saw the press conference sees how passionate he is. They want this to work. It's not. Some people still have the one thing again, one and done, and they're comparing it with the wrestling. It's just, I'll be honest with you, Rick, I think the XFL has a little bit of a Howard Stern effect, where the people that are going to enjoy watching it, and the people that seem to hate it are going to follow it and look to nail it on anything, Rick.
I think that's true. I think there's a little bit of that. It's interesting because we say the word gimmick and it sounds inherently negative, but let's just call it a hook then, right, for fan interest. The first time around, it was from a macho perspective. There's going to be the dash for the ball at midfield, similar to what you would see in gym class, and men being men, and that was a time and place before, obviously, the concussion studies and everything that came out. Ironically, Christopher Nowinski, one of McMahon's former wrestlers, on the forefront of the concussion research and the way that the sports world has evolved since then. This time around, fortunately, it seems like the rules changes that they're putting in place are of more of an excitement kind of nature, as opposed to just sort of the caveman kind of stuff from last time. As far as, now again, there's still no fair catches, but that there's got to be the returner getting a distance of 5 yards of space on a return to return the ball. As you noted to me off air, on kickoffs, the team that is kicking the ball off can't run down the field until the ball is caught. So the changes that are being put in this time seem to be more around maximizing the entertainment of the game as opposed to just ramping up the tough guy stuff for no good reason.
Also, they plan to have a play clock of 25 to 30 seconds where it's going to be very quick. They're going to have an automatic, one person that just spots the ball to help speed the game up. I mean, they're going to have limited commercials. They're going to do everything they can to speed the game up. They have in the 2.5 under 3 hour range, Rick.
Sure. And as I'm looking at the list of cities again, good thing if you're having rules like that you don't have a team in Denver. I couldn't imagine trying to do that at altitude with the 25 to 30 seconds between the plays. But it's really, again, a very interesting approach that they are taking to the launch of this thing. All the more so when you consider Charlie Ebersol, to whatever degree, beating them to the punch. Some might say even stealing the idea as far as his launch of an alternative league in 2019, one that has a direct tie to the NFL. So it's extraordinarily intriguing in that way as far as the XFL launching, but not in a vacuum, doing so in competition with another league out there for the same players.
Yeah, the Alliance of American Football that went into 6 non-NFL markets. They decided to, and the XFL would have gone probably into Orlando or San Antonio, but, the Alliance of American Football beat them to it. One interesting thing, Rick, yesterday I posted on a website, apparently when people were doing XFL Google searches, the AAF decided to buy Google Ads, to piggyback that, which is a smart move, but it shows that the AAF's a little more concerned about the XFL than vice versa.
Yeah, very much so, because, again, they don't come to this with the existing brand name that the XFL has. And, again, we know that cuts both ways, positively and negatively, in terms of when you think of the XFL the first time around. But they do have that name recognition. It's really fascinating to me on a personal level when you look at this, the decades-long close friendship of Dick Ebersol and Vince McMahon, going back to the 80s and their association, their successful co-productions in wrestling, Saturday Night's Main Event, et cetera, everything that they've been through together, and that Charlie Ebersol, more or less, after putting together the 30 for 30 documentary on the XFL, swipes the idea, it appears anyways, right out from underneath Vince McMahon's nose. So I'm guessing the Ebersols and the McMahons may not be exchanging Christmas cards this year.
I think it's just best. I mean, neither league is going to discuss either league. That's just. It was born in the press conference, and Love said, the more football, the better. But it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. But the thing is, if the AAF has a good season, that doesn't help the XFL. If the AAF has a bad season in 2019, that doesn't help the XFL either. Well,
that's true. I mean, and I think by and large, the XFL is focused on doing its own thing as far as proceeding here. Again, putting together rosters, that's going to be interesting. You could see some AAF players from 2019 ending up in the XFL in 2020. That could very well be the case. I'd be surprised if that didn't happen to a decent degree as far as how that goes. Of course, TV rights. The AAF, as a league that is trying to position itself overtly as a developmental league for the NFL, it's been a little bit easier for them locking down, I think, the CBS Sports Network and maybe even CBS, I think, for some of their games. Rumors about NBC getting back involved with the XFL as they were last time around, but nothing's set yet. Both leagues look like they're going to be heavily involved in streaming, which, again, every league has to take into account to varying degrees today in terms of how we consume our sports.
Well, right now the AFC have their opening game on CBS and their championship in Vegas on CBS. So they're going to have a weekly game on CBS Sports plus streaming on the app. The XFL, they might have multiple TV partners, which is possible because of the big TV markets that has a big interest to TV and cable networks.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you had noted additionally here as far as the economics of the league here in your great article on OurSportsCentral.com, which I would advise everybody to go check out, was Oliver Luck talking about the concept of a family four-pack and deciding to try to, again, play to their strengths as opposed to their weaknesses. If you try to emphasize the players on the field, you're never going to out-NFL the NFL. That's a lesson they didn't seem to learn last time around. They've clearly learned it this time. But playing to your strengths, affordability relative to the NFL, out of necessity, affordability is going to be a strength. So they seem like they're really playing to it with the concept of the family four-pack.
Well, the family four-pack, that Luck mentioned on the press conference, you can have 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas, or 4 popcorns for around $100. That's perfect for family 4. In the NFL, family 4 might be $500, $600, $700 to go to a game.
That's right. Yeah, the costs are nowhere near even similar when you're looking at the two of them. So again, the XFL trying to play to one of their great strengths in terms of exposing families to football in a way that is certainly a lot more affordable. So again, a very interesting launch of the XFL from their press conference now. You have 8 different teams that are getting ready for the 2020 season. This past year has just been one of sort of speculation of what form the XFL is going to take. And now we start to get a little bit more meat on the bones in 2019, a year of preparation before they get into 2020. That's another thing the XFL did differently, was taking a year in between to try to launch here. They had said in early 2018 we're going to have a league, but not in 2019 and 2020. So next year's the year of full preparation for the 8 franchises, for the league office as a whole. Any additional thoughts from you, Fran, on the launch of the XFL and where it's heading?
Well, I think it's really right having a year to get organized. They have a year to sell tickets. They have a year to organize. Get everything perfectly done. The rules, testings, fan feedback. They have a year to ramp up this product and make it a quality product. People are just going to think that they're getting one and done. I mean, I think if you at least it's where your commitment is to make it work. Vince wants, and Albert Luck and everybody else wants this league to work. And another thing is, their expectations for the first season, they budgeted, having, for 20, to have an average attendance of 20,000 fans per team. But, I mean, they think they can do better than that. And I think they can in some of those markets. I think, St. Louis that doesn't have an NFL team, they can do better than that. Dallas and Houston could be an interesting rivalry. New York and Washington could be an interesting rivalry. The only questionable mark is a little bit of LA. We'll have to see. I think the fans in LA will embrace it because the Rams are going to cost a fortune, and now in that new stadium, it's going to cost them a fortune. But the thing is, Rick, when you go to a game in person, it's so much different than watching on TV. And the XFL is going to give fans the opportunity who can't afford to go to NFL games to see it live and in person. I've been to 3 NC State games this past year, and it's a big difference seeing it in person compared to watching on TV.
It certainly is, and that's going to be an experience that is going to be, as we say, for the modern sports product at least, if you grade it on that curve, very affordable for sports fans in the 8 cities. And again, those 8 cities being, as we had said previously, you've got Dallas, Houston, LA, New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Washington, D.C., the latter of which, that's going to be at Audi Field, which is the newest venue out of any of them in the league, as you noted in your article, Fran. Of course, that's where D.C. United plays in the MLS. So you've got a variety of different types of stadiums being used here as well, including the abandoned Dome at America's Center, which has not hosted professional football since the Rams moved out of St. Louis at the end of the 2015 season. So we will have to see how everything goes here. Again, 2019, a year of preparation. Probably not going to be much big news on the XFL front in 2019, but as we go along, obviously you are our go-to guy for all things XFL, and we'll be talking about this subsequently as we do other things predominantly in the world of football with you, Fran Stuchbury. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. And XFL fans, look forward to January when they announce the nicknames and they start getting the head coaches in place.
There you go. That's the next big milestone to come. Both of those things there. We'll be tracking that. Thank you, Fran, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in to FDH Lounge mini-episode number 1073.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, waitresses, strippers, bartenders, garbage men, janitors, microwave popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and the Periodic Table of Elements.